benefit in that uses different parameters to come up with that. Plus, they also did an interest credit. So not only did you get a one-time transition credit percentage, but you also got an interest credit on top of that. So it was the present value of your 094 amount plus a one-time special credit plus an interest credit on top of that to come up with what they called the opening balance. You know, keep a note here. The grandfather group can never, let me space that out there, can never receive less than their 12/31/2010 amount as if the formula plan extended until this time versus the cash balance plan. It was frozen 12/31/2010, and so they don't look at it anymore. But just keep in mind, even though they gave them an opening balance, they were kind of keeping tabs on what the grandfather would have grown to by 12/31/2010. They looked at that amount versus the cash balance plan, and they kind of froze it at as almost a minimum guaranteed amount. Now, we hope the cash balance plan with the market and with years of service would be higher, but with some of the downfalls we've had in the market, you know, considering year 2000, 2001 with 9/11, and then recently the disaster of 2008, 2009. So there's a potential that the frozen grandfathered amount could be the minimum amount they're going to receive. And, you know, some old school, long service employees could be pretty, you know, ticked off about that. It's based on the fact that, you know, their frozen amount's really their benefit, and the cash balance hasn't done anything for them. We're going to have to see what it ends up being. I mean, it was an opening balance, and they do kind of go along with the interest rates have gone so low that it just might not be growing as fast as what the grandfathered frozen amount would have been. Now, the second portion, that was really the 95 situation that happened way back. From 1996 to year 2007, they were putting in 5% of your base pay as a credit, plus a minimum of 4% interest on top of that 5%. So that's more of a typical cash balance plan. The company's going to contribute 5% of your base pay, plus you're going to get an interest credit, which was a minimum of 4%. Then they threw in this weird wrench where they said, and or 75% of the investment return of the actual trust where the investments were held. If the actual 75% of whatever the trust actually got as a return was higher than 4%, you got that instead. Well, that didn't last too long. After 07, beginning 1/1/08, they gave you the greater of the old amount or under the grandfathered plan versus the new 12/31/07 amount. This 75% calculation above that we just talked about doesn't exist anymore. And now what they're using, as I mentioned above here, if you go all the way back up to the greater long-term cash balance third segment rate, or the greater long-term